back to a new episode of Bloody Movies. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is our 68th episode. I am your co-host, Mark Young, and I'm accompanied by...
Yeah, Anthony Watkins, of course.
And tonight we have a special guest.
That's right.
Of the great, the renowned, the ever so amazing Daniel Watkins.
Thank you. Great to be here. Big fan.
The last time you were here, I believe, was the Planes, Trains, Automobiles Thanksgiving episode, right?
You are still you're still our only guest that we've ever had on the show.
That's right. You know, so far,
what can I say? When it ain't broke, don't fix it.
He cut out there.
Did he? Yeah, he did cut out. Can you repeat that?
When it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course.
So, how's everyone been doing? What have you guys been watching that we're not talking about tonight?
That we're not talking about?
Yeah, so we're talking about Rings of Power tonight, and we're talking about Top Gun Maverick. Those are our two main things. But what else have you guys been watching?
I mean, outside of that, reruns of The Office. I mean, I'm in a hotel in Delaware tonight, so Comedy Central, right? Comedy Central has reruns of The Office going pretty much every single night.
Survivor was pretty good last night. Amazing Race was good.
Oh, that's right. I need to catch up on Survivor. Yeah, I do watch Survivor, and I like to watch Amazing Race as far as reality TV goes.
I've never been into reality TV. I just can't do it.
Of course, The Bachelorette was amazing, right, Anthony?
Yeah, I didn't watch that. I used to watch The Bachelorette. I will confess I used to. But, once Chris Harrison left, the host, I'm out. Sorry.
That was like a year ago or two, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's my confession for the night. That's all
it's just starting.
So.
Huh.
It's a good start.
Good start. I was thinking, I think that's a perfect segue into, our first article.
Oh, right. Of course. Yes.
Which is?
We are talking about Bros.
Mm-hmm.
And their disappointing box office debut. The rom-com is officially on life support. Although to have life support, I think you need to be alive. I think Anthony said that earlier.
Yes, there has to be some life support at the beginning to have it at the end. But
here's a burning question that still remains unanswered: is the romantic comedy genre dead? We could debate that question all day. What's clear is that the genre was once a tentpole in the world of cinema, and now it barely exists. Gosh. They're acting like this is just a normal rom-com, though.
Yeah, it's not. It's the complete opposite of a normal rom-com. I will agree to a certain extent as far as the rom-com in movie theaters. I think less people are definitely seeing romantic comedy, like just comedies in general, whether they're romantic or not, in theaters. I think, especially post-pandemic, most people are seeing movies in theaters that are meant to be seen on the big screen, like the one we're talking about tonight, Top Gun Maverick.
Honestly, I definitely fully agree, because if I'm going to pay $20 for a ticket, why am I going to go see a rom-com?
If you're paying $20 for a ticket, you're going to the wrong theater. I have it's about $8, maybe $7, maybe $4 if it's on Tuesday. Chambersburg.
Okay, I think we're talking like IMAX, big screen. Those are a little more expensive.
Right. They are a little more. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. When I saw the previews or whatever for this movie, I made a note in my phone to check what it did at the box office when it finally comes out. Right. And it did not disappoint. It had a budget of what was the budget?
It's $22 million.
Yes.
And it made $4 million?
So far.
4.8. 4.8
first week, opening weekend.
So it's got a ways to go to make up. It's got to make at least 44, 45, 50 million.
Although, here's a question for you. Brokeback Mountain was a huge success, right?
Oscar-wise, yeah. I don't know what it did at the box office, but Oscar-wise...
Well, I was curious when I was thinking about this. I was like, okay, gay movies. Well, that's one, right? And
yes,
personally, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Many people think it should have won Best Picture over, I forget what actually won that year, but it's a big debate. People think it should have won Best Picture that year, right? 05.
So it can be done, essentially, right?
Okay, so Brokeback Mountain did 178 million at the box office.
That was back in
pretty good.
What 20 years ago?
2005.
Okay, yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, that was pre Dark Knight, Heath Ledger. Yeah, the budget couldn't have been more than 10, 20 million, I would assume.
Granted, those were A-list actors.
The budget was 13 million.
Yeah, see that's the other part of it. That's the other part of this. This did not have any known actors. To attach yourself to a romantic comedy, usually you have to have at least minimum one A-list actor. And this
the only guy I recognized was the comedian guy. What's his name?
Yeah, Billy Eichner.
Yeah.
He's funny and all. I love his comedy, but he's just like, there was another one, Call Me by His Name.
Oh, yes, I do remember that. Came out a couple.
That was 2017. Box office. Okay, that one made 41.9 million.
Okay,
but that was a small budget movie too. Though it was
definitely smaller for sure.
It was a small release. It wasn't like a wide release. Its opening weekend had 4 theaters, and its widest release was 900 theaters. So that movie wasn't even trying to make a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I mean, from this article, I just did not like that Eichner essentially blamed straight people for not seeing, essentially for blaming straight people.
That's the thing.
Really?
I feel like this is a common thread, and that's why I wanted to talk about this, is because I feel like this is a common thread in all movies nowadays, is that they kind of hedge their bets and they put stuff out there ahead of time to basically say, hey, this is why our movie failed. It's because of bigotry, rather than owning up to the fact that, hey, you made a crappy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to,
They've done it since Ghostbusters 2016. They start talking about bigotry, or how people don't like strong women characters, especially in the sci-fi genre. That's just total bunk. We've been loving Princess Leia and Sigourney Weaver,
freaking Sarah
Connor. Like, these are iconic, actual strong women characters that have been idolized for decades. And to turn around and say that, it's because men are afraid of strong female characters, especially in the more sci-fi genre, is just ridiculous. So they hedge their bets and they put all this stuff out there. And sure, they can probably come up with plenty of tweets, because Twitter is just a cesspool of negativity and anger. Mm-hmm. So they can come up with plenty of tweets of people saying nasty things to the actors and about the movie. But when the reality is, sometimes you just put out a crappy product that no one wanted to see. And the marketing for this movie was awful. Because you can't, maybe I'm wrong, but with the amount of gay people that there are in the country, you can't support a movie on just gay people.
No.
You need your straight heterosexual males to go to the movie, because they're the ones who usually go to movies. Mm-hmm. And this movie was even joking about the fact of like, hey, we want to make a gay movie that straight guys will come to. And they said this in the trailer, and they're just like, that's impossible. It's not going to happen. Like, they have these scenes in the movie. They have these lines in the movie, like in the trailer. They have this like scene where a bunch of it's like the joke of the gay mafia. So you have a scene where a bunch of people are sitting around. One of them's trans, one of them's a lesbian, one of them's bi, and they're sitting there and they're complaining that like bi people only get a week of recognition, while lesbians get a whole month of March, and gay guys get Pride Month, and they're trying to group everything in with it. Do you guys remember straight people? Oh yeah, they had a nice run. That's literally a tagline in the movie, as if like straight people
I remember that
are going out of fashion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they also have this thing of, gay sex was more fun when straight people were uncomfortable with it. And like, I'm sorry, but the content is simply something that most people don't want to see, regardless of it being about gay people or straight people. It was just kind of came off as crass and unrelatable.
Tasteless.
And tasteless. Most people aren't going to want to see this. The one preview, I literally had to put in my age to see the main preview for the movie, because it wasn't even a red band trailer. It was just like, had that many jokes in it that were just like not for children. So I had to, put my age in to see the trailer. And the one scene I was sitting there going like, oh my God, this is shocking. It would be shocking to see if it was straight people doing it, let alone a gay scene.
Right.
So it's just like, it's not normal to see that stuff in a movie. No one's going to want to go see it if you market it this way. So they got what they aimed for. And shock, surprise, surprise. The straight guys didn't show up to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't know what they expected here. I really don't. I'm at a loss here.
I'm surprised it made $4 million, to be honest.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't make these movies for their. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all about, and we've talked the past several weeks about Rings of Power and representation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that, sure, but don't get mad at me if I don't want to go see your movie just because it doesn't appeal to me. Yeah. Make something that appeals to me and I'll go see it.
Right. Your goal was not to appeal to a certain group of people, and that's it. You literally want to create a movie that appeals to a wide range of audiences and different diverse groups. And you can't do that. You're in trouble.
Exactly.
But yeah.
That's my take on this. Anything else to add, guys?
I don't think so. Not for me.
No.
From three straight white guys. I'm assuming, Daniel. I really don't know. Well, I know Anthony and I are. I'm assuming you are too, Daniel.
I don't like you assuming, but thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah.
You shouldn't assume that. Really
shouldn't assume anything these days. He could be whatever he wants to be.
Yeah,
it's true.
But I just wasn't impressed. And this article trying to blame people and write them off as bigots for not seeing it is just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yep. But I will share I will share this article in the description, and we will move on to the next thing. Oh no, I closed the trailer for that movie.
Oh yeah, well, so it's called Emancipation. It's a movie by Will Smith as the main star here, and it's an Apple TV Plus movie, which is a question in and of itself as to how well this is actually going to do. Because it's, as far as I know, it's not coming out in theaters. It's just going to be Apple TV Plus.
I do not like that.
And I really don't know how many people actually have Apple TV Plus. I myself even don't.
You did.
I did at one point. That was just because it came with like my free, when I bought an Apple TV 4 years ago, it came with a free 1 year subscription. So I had it for a year, but not because I was actually willing to go out and pay for it. So I really don't know. It looks like the trailer, it's just a teaser trailer, but it looks good. Like it's definitely an Oscar contender for sure. Will Smith. It's a little background. Name kind of gives it away itself, but it's about the slave movement and Will Smith breaking away from his basically his slave master, essentially. What we're getting from the teaser trailer, and it looks like a solid movie, honestly. But I don't know how well it's going to do because it's coming out just on Apple TV Plus, just on streaming, as far as I know.
No, it's being released in theaters as well.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. The trailer at the end says it's being released in theaters, and then I think it's like 9 days later it's being released on Apple TV Plus.
Okay, good. I did not see that. So that's good at least. So then I guess that actually is a good point, because I think to qualify for the Oscars, it has to be in theaters. Is that correct?
Yes, you still have a theater run at a California or a Los Angeles based theater for 1 week.
Okay.
Within the year of the Oscars.
So that's why it's
contention year.
That's
so it gets 9 days. Maverick gets 3 months.
Yeah.
Does that seem?
Well, it gets 9 days solo. There's 50 million subscribers on Apple TV.
Okay.
So it's a little less than HBO Max, which is a little over 60 at this point. So it's a lot, but like you said, it's not enough. I'm not subscribed to it. And there's two things, there's only like two things that I've actually wanted to see on Apple Plus. One of them is that show with, it's about a soccer coach.
Ted Lasso. Ted
Lasso. Yes. I wanted to see that because that looks really good.
I kind of do too. It looks funny.
It's won a couple Emmys. I think it's 2 or 3 seasons in. Yes, my former roommate, he was big into that.
But the other thing is I find that they still do stuff on DVD and you can still buy episodes sometimes. I'm at the point where I'm having a little bit of extra money, so I'm okay with buying things now. I have a Vudu that I put Maverick on the other day because it was on sale for like $14.99. So I was like, now I own it.
I don't even know how much is Apple TV Plus. Is it $10 a month? 15? I think it's around 10.
I have no idea.
I don't even know. I lose track of all these streaming services, honestly, of how much is which. But I think it's around 10. Between 10 and 15 a month.
Oh, $4.99 a month.
Oh,
that's not bad.
That's actually
that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's dirt cheap, actually.
But I can't think of any shows on there aside from the ones you mentioned.
Well, there's a Jason Momoa show, which I watched like the first couple episodes for, then kind of.
Do they only have original content on there?
Yes.
No, they have other content as well.
Do they?
Oh yeah, they've brought up a couple things that actually all the Peanuts Christmas and Thanksgiving specials and stuff like that, they have that on there now. So Charlie Brown Christmas wasn't actually on TV last year because Apple Plus had bought it and they had exclusive rights to it.
There you go.
So there's things like that are happening.
There'd be everything you could get on iTunes too, right? Like to rent.
I would assume you could get stuff on iTunes to rent. I mean, that's the thing is I own a lot of this stuff.
Because they have everything,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, through other services or from just the fact of having it on DVD, and I still have a PlayStation 4 hooked up for the kids to play on. So we'll throw DVDs in there all the time for like older movies that we just want to see. I don't know. I just, I'm at my limit for services. I'm even thinking about trimming down from what I do have. Netflix is not one that I have. I don't have Netflix. I have Disney Plus. I have
Peacock,
HBO, Peacock.
Office.
Obviously. I borrow some of these. I'm not saying which ones.
Right.
I have Hulu.
Do you have Amazon Prime? Well, I guess
I have Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Yep. Have Amazon Prime. So I mean, I'm literally subscribed to I'm paying for at least 4 of these services.
Yeah.
So, and that's just a bit much.
Yeah, it adds up quickly.
It adds up very quickly. Some of them I need to trim back on the service because, like, I think with Peacock I'm going to go down to the commercial one because it's saved me $5 a month.
Yeah,
cuts the price in half. So instead of $10, it's $5, and I get commercials. Which, with the way YouTube has gone, like
commercials,
you have commercials on YouTube all the time anyway. So now it's just something you're used to. Again,
for a little bit there, I did look into YouTube Red because I'm someone who is so annoyed by YouTube commercials.
So expensive,
it's insanely expensive. I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's $50 a month.
I'm like, and I hate YouTube commercials. They not only do they interrupt you at the beginning of the video, but sometimes it's during the middle of the video and they time it right when someone's about to say something, and it just pisses me off.
They do
at the end too. It's at the end if you notice.
It's all over the place.
It's at the beginning. It's at the end. It's in the middle. The key things with the YouTube Plus that some people, because I know some people who actually did it, is it had a live TV option with it.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you were into like watching like the Thanksgiving parades or football or things like that, you had that. What else was it? It also had, you could download any of the content and play it offline.
Okay.
So
nice.
and you could play it with your screen off, so you could use it as more of a listening device than just. So like that's what I do with a lot of the podcasts is I'll have the video playing of a podcast that I'm listening to just because it's fun to have the video there, but I'm not really watching it. I'm more just listening to it. I'll have it sitting on the counter next to me while I'm washing dishes or something. But yeah, so now it's like you could turn the screen off and just use it that way. I think it also came with like Apple Music or not Apple, YouTube Music as well.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, the $50, you get more out of it than most other services, but I still don't think it's worth it for something that's primarily accessible free.
Right.
Yep. But yeah. Go ahead.
Well, the other thing I wanted to quick touch on the teaser trailer thing here was this has been a debate ever since the Oscars, Will Smith's slap. Do you think Will Smith's career, some people say, his career is over since the slap. Do you think his career is actually going to be either over or take a tumble from this slap? Or do you think people will forget about it and move on from it? And, what do you guys think about that? I'm genuinely curious here.
I think if he had walked up on stage and slapped Taylor Swift, his career would have been over.
Yeah.
Or his wife in front of everybody, his career would have been over. But I don't think anyone cares that he slapped Chris Rock in front of everybody after he had made a joke about his wife's alopecia. Yeah. Granted, I still think it's a gross overreaction. Like, come on, take your jokes in stride. Everybody gets them at the Oscars. Yeah. It's part of being the show. It's part of being the main contender for your Oscar win that year. Just deal with it, dude.
I mean, anyone who's offended by that didn't watch the one where
Ricky Gervais.
His name? He roasted the entire crowd.
Oh my gosh, where Ricky Gervais just didn't give a crap. That was Golden Globes, but yeah, it's still
Golden Globes, right? Yeah, still my favorite Golden Globes clip ever.
He just didn't care.
No,
and he said that throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it's my last one. Who cares? Who cares? It's my last one.
I mean, he'd done it like 5 times at that point, and every single time. Yeah, I think that was his 5th time doing the Golden Globes, and he said that it would be his last one. And he got in trouble for years past, like going too far, according to people, but they still brought him back because he brought in the views. But yeah, so I mean, I just think like the whole slap is overblown. I don't think anyone really cares. If he had done it to someone who was a little bit more innocent, a little bit more uncalled for, then maybe his career would be in trouble. But
yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think this will pass, and people will. I'm not sure if anyone will like completely forget about it because it happened on such a wider stage. I'm not going to say huge stage because the Oscars have taken a tumble in viewership the past couple of years for obvious reasons.
I didn't even know the Oscars had happened until the next day when everyone was talking about this slap online.
Yeah.
And I usually paid attention to that stuff. I used to throw Oscar parties and have people over, and we'd fill out our cards guessing who was going to win whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that I've completely missed it this year until the slap happened. I'm sorry, but the Oscars, who cares about the Oscars anymore?
Yeah.
I thought it was fake at first because of the fact that
I thought it was scripted.
Some people are still debating that, I think, whether it was or not. I don't think it was.
I was like, I thought this was fake because they're trying to get Oscar, and this will create buzz. They know it's going to create buzz. This will create, interest in the Oscars. So let's create this moment. That's what I initially thought.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they used it for that afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
They saw their opportunity, and that's why they didn't issue a correction or any judgment against him for 2 weeks. I think it took him 2 weeks to say anything after he had done it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So someone obviously did this in front of people. I mean, if he had like slapped him and then beat him to the ground and then like started stomping on him or something, then his career's over. But
single slap. Like he slapped him once. It was just one slap.
A slap too. It wasn't an
open punch, too, right? It was open hand.
Open palm. Yeah. It wasn't a punch. It was not a punch. No. Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Rock probably cares, but
I mean, I feel like what did I read? And Chris Rock's response, like he didn't press charges, or anything. Like I don't know. I don't.
He's lucky Dwight wasn't up there throwing punches.
These moves. Yeah. Right.
Shut up! Sucker punch.
God, what was that? Oh man, classic. All right. Well, that's all I had for that.
New movie coming out on Apple, Emancipation.
Yeah.
Check it's coming out December. Ooh, do you have the date on that? I just closed it.
I do not.
And it's not black and white, right? I was watching the trailer. It kind of looked black and white at first. It's not, right?
No, it comes out December 2nd. No, that's the thing is it looks like it's black and white, but it's
right. When I first watched, I was like, is this black and white? I don't think it is.
Not quite black and white.
I was on the fence for a little bit there.
I think they mainly turn the saturation really, really low. So it's near black and white, but the grass still looks like slightly green.
Okay.
The sky, they're doing something, funky with the color there, but it's
yeah.
Something funky with colors. This is off topic, but it was on Twitter. The latest House of Dragon episode, some of the scenes were filmed in broad daylight.
Oh yeah,
they edited it to look like a full moon night scene.
Yes.
How is that?
Yes, day for night. Day for night.
That's actually
that at school.
That's actually a fairly frequent technique, believe it or not.
It's just it made news because how dark some of the episodes from Game of Thrones were.
Yes.
People were pissed, and
people complained about. I mean, the big battle sequence in season 8 of Game of Thrones that got a lot of attention because no one could see anything.
And the same guy apparently directed this episode, and probably a lot more. But
they made the same mistake again, apparently. Yep.
I thought it looked okay. I mean, some people have a really crappy TVs. They shouldn't be watching these shows on.
Yeah.
You got to have the
that might be true because, I think last week I was saying that I watched Batman and I turned the brightness way up so I could see it a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I could, because it's a dark movie. So I was trying to see the details a little bit finer. So I turned the brightness up a little bit more just so I could so it's instead of being black, it was dark instead of being a dark black. It was just okay, that's black, but there's another black over here,
right. Yeah.
But yeah. So that movie comes out on December 2nd in theaters and December 9th on Apple Plus.
There you go.
Emancipation, Will Smith.
Yep.
All right. Moving right along. Let's get to the coup de grace, the main event here.
Man,
our star aviation film. I don't know what else to say about this movie, but it is Top Gun Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
So good that apparently somebody here on the show has seen it 5 times in theaters.
That's nothing really. I know someone that saw it 9 times. So
wow, was that your coworker?
No.
Okay. 5 times. That's still very impressive. You gave at least $200 to this movie minimum.
Not even close. You mean what? You're including popcorn?
If you're counting $10 a ticket, I was just counting ticket wise. But
10 times 5 is 50. But
sorry. Yeah,
200. I was going to say, dang.
You dropped that in calculus in high school. Don't blame me for it.
My math's a little off here, isn't it?
$40 a ticket.
All right. At least minimum 50.
The IMAX ticket was, I think, 16, 18. That was in Scranton on your bachelor party.
That's right.
I paid for your ticket too for that. Yeah,
we saw it. Yeah, thank you very much for that. We saw this on my bachelor party in Scranton, PA, the Electric City, of course.
The Electric City. That's what they call it. And
Scranton, hey, the Electric City.
The other 3
I call it that because it's the Electricity.
We took a picture by that sign.
We did, yeah. It was epic. Yeah, you said you saw it 5 times. The first time was in Scranton, obviously, for the bachelor party.
That's right.
Saw 4 more times after that in Screen X.
3 more times in regular format. The last time, in Screen X, which I'd never done before, and was cool.
So what's different about that?
It's where they project some of the picture on the side walls of the theater. So there's 3 projectors total.
Interesting.
Mhm.
It was interesting, and they only did it for certain scenes. So
Gotcha.
it was cool. There was some picture that was added that wasn't in the regular version. I think, but it not something I would do all the time, for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I'll give this a little bit of background info on this. It was released May 27 of this year, written by Aaron Kruger, Eric Warren Sr., and Christopher McQuarrie, who also wrote Valkyrie, Mission Impossible Fallout, and Rogue Nation, as well as Edge of Tomorrow. So like a bunch of Tom Cruise movies here.
Valkyrie was good. Yeah.
Yeah. And directed by Joseph Kosinski, who directed also Oblivion and Tron Legacy. I never saw Oblivion. I did see Tron Legacy once. I liked it overall. But this is only my second movie of it. He hasn't done a lot of movies, but this was a really solid one. It grossed $1.47 billion so far to date.
And it's still in theaters.
It's still going. Yeah, it's still going.
There's 4 showtimes tomorrow in Hagerstown. 4.
Oh my gosh.
On a $170 million budget. This is the highest grossing movie of the post-pandemic era, beating out even Spider-Man Far From Home, which grossed $1.13 billion. No, Far From Home.
Far From Home.
Oh, Far From Home grossed $1.13 billion. No Way Home was the third one, wasn't it?
Right.
No Way Home is the post-pandemic one.
Which would have to be the bigger one, you would think. That was, it had all 3 Spider-Mans in it. That was definitely the bigger one.
I may have Spider-Man No Way Home.
It's a shoddy work from Anthony here.
Well, IMDb said Far From Home, so that's what's confusing me here.
Far From Home was the Jake Gyllenhaal one, I think.
Right. See, all these titles are honestly confusing.
Because they're all the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Far From Home, No Way Home.
They're all home.
Homecoming, right?
Homeward Bound.
Okay, so Spider-Man No Way Home grossed $1.9 billion. Okay, so it did not top No Way Home because that's almost $2 billion. But I mean, I think what's most impressive about this is that it's not a Marvel movie. It's not a superhero movie. Granted, it's a sequel, like one that is 36 years removed from its predecessor.
The longest. I think that's the longest sequel ever. The longest time.
Sequel. I think Blade Runner 2049 held the record until this movie, I believe.
No, I thought Odd Couple held the record.
Yeah, you may be right. Odd Couple, I think, actually, yeah.
It's up there.
But as far as highest grossing sequel for a movie that's so far removed from its original, this is very impressive. I don't think many people saw this coming. When I saw the trailer, I'm like, before I saw the trailer, I'm like, I was passively interested, I guess, maybe. But till that point, I'd never actually even seen the original Top Gun. So I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll check this out.
Whose fault was that?
Well, I just, the original, even though some people regard it as a classic, the original, this is one that really surpassed the original, in my opinion.
It beat the Odd Couple. Odd Couple was 30 years. Sorry.
30 years. All right. There you go.
Cool.
Yeah. I just think it was very unprecedented and very impressive that this movie grossed as much as it did. Obviously the star power of Tom Cruise was a factor in it, but
totally everything.
I'm impressed that they were able to make an 80s movie in this day and age.
Yeah, really.
And release it in the year 2022 and make over $1 billion off of it.
Oh yeah.
Because this movie was straight up an 80s movie.
Yeah, it homaged the original in so many ways.
I mean, it was practically
soundtrack-wise.
If they had released this and said it was a remake of Top Gun, I would have been like, okay, yeah, it is.
Yeah, because
it is kind of like a modernized version of the, not the same story, and obviously it is a sequel, but
it's definitely bigger than the first one, and yet without the first one, it wouldn't be as big.
Right. Exactly.
The opening scene alone is enough to get every person in there cheering.
Right.
Oh my gosh, yes,
the opening 3 minutes.
Yeah. It definitely relies relies heavily on nostalgia, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And it's just such a well-crafted movie from a technical standpoint, which we'll get into. But
so many great sequences there. I can name several off the top of my head. Just
and it's definitely one you got to see in the movie theaters. And I was so happy when I heard reports that Tom Cruise, he turned down multiple offers from studios wanting to have this on their streaming service so that it would not go to theaters, and he turned down all their offers because he wanted it to be seen in theaters. Like, man, that was such a great decision, because how much less money it would have done in just on a streaming service versus in theaters. And it's a movie, it has to be seen in theaters. You know?
They had to sit on that for years. They had to sit on it, right?
I mean, this was filmed, in 2019, I want to say, or 2018, 2019.
It's supposed to come out in 2020.
Yeah, it was delayed, obviously, because of the pandemic. So
that's something. They sat on that for 2 years.
I like that they easily overcame some of my objections, because when I first saw the movie and, he's teaching Top Gun now, I was like, okay, but all these actors are too old to be in Top Gun. But when it was like, it's a bunch of Top Gun graduates coming back to be trained for a specific mission, it was like, okay, they got me there. Yeah. I love Jon Hamm in this movie because I think it's the first time I've ever seen him play a different character.
Right.
Than the guy he plays in that show Mad Men, John Draper. Yeah. So he was definitely different in this movie, because he was not that debonair suave. He still was Jon Hamm, but he was like more of the the hard ass admiral who's like, I'm coming down on you, and I'm towing the line type deal there. And it just was a different side of his acting. So I thought that was really good. And the story was solid too.
Right. Surprisingly good. Like, people came for this movie for the the special effects or the practical stunt work. But honestly, the stories were maybe probably what surprised me the most. I'm like, this is actually a pretty good story.
I assumed the fight between him and Rooster was going to be that he was responsible for Rooster's dad's death, for Goose's death. I thought that was going to be the fight, but no, they made it something else. And I was like, wow, okay, that's actually interesting. Mm-hmm. I was a little sad that they couldn't get Meg Ryan to come back, but they just wrote it that she had passed away. But that makes sense.
I enjoyed the flashbacks though. We got flashbacks of all three of them. Oh yeah,
yep. They did.
Her, Goose, and Maverick, obviously.
Yeah, they really pull on your heartstrings in several scenes in this movie.
Good heart.
The relationship between Maverick and Rooster are like the heartbeat of this movie, and it really pulls you in emotionally. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
The rift
even a lot more than Maverick and Penny. Yeah,
right. Sure. Yeah. The relationship between them, the rift between them initially, it just makes for just a great movie.
And the way they accommodated Val Kilmer's personal medical struggles, to have him in the movie, like that was good. I like that they were able to include him still, and have them have built that relationship over the years.
Yeah.
So it definitely worked on several levels. I always have my issues with any movie. I got your brother going the other day. Daniel, I texted him after I watched it. I said, meh. I said, I just finished Top Gun. Meh. Was my reaction. And gosh, he flipped out. He sent me so many texts just angry about my reaction.
I was like,
the second time I watched it with a friend of mine, he didn't like it. He doesn't like feel-good movies. And he called this a feel-good movie. He didn't like it.
Honestly, this is a feel-good movie. And I do have that bone to pick with this movie, though. I feel like they could not commit to an ending. They definitely went a little longer than they needed to. And it did get a little crazy there at the end with, the going behind enemy lines and stealing the jet. And although it was fun that, it was about the pilot, they were able to take out the new planes with the F-14, the plane they flew in the original. So it was like, okay, I see what they're doing there, but I feel that there may have been a way to do it without going so crazy on, just making the movie feel a little like it just was pushing a little longer than it needed to.
Well, to be honest, I did kind of wish Maverick would have died. I think that would have made. I love a good sacrifice, right?
Yeah,
it seemed like they were going to have somebody die. Like they were talking about it throughout the whole movie. Somebody's not coming back from this mission. They were foreshadowing that, and then everybody made it out alive.
One of the reasons I was so surprised. That was unpredictable, right? Who would have predicted?
I mean, that was a little surprising, but it's also the fact of like it felt like they couldn't commit to the sacrifices that they did have. Like they did. If you're not going to have a sacrifice like that, then don't have a sacrifice like that. Don't do a faux one and then pull it back.
Yeah.
Which is what they did.
The only major character here that dies is Val Kilmer's character. Is Iceman.
And he does it off screen, and it's because of his cancer.
Right.
And if you don't watch the first one, you're not going to know that. You're not going to feel that. People cried during that scene with Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But if you didn't watch the first one, you're not crying for sure. Yeah. Right? You don't know anything about it.
I would recommend, if you haven't seen the first one, I would watch the first one to prepare for the second one, even though, I still think you should to get some of that emotional pull that this movie has.
You see, at your bachelor party, I had not even seen the first one yet.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I didn't want to. Like, there's so many reasons for me to not go see the movie then, just because I had some bad information about the movie, for one. But the other thing was, the crazy hours I was working at the time and wanting to get back to see my family. Yeah. Already spending over 24 hours away from them. Right. So, I mean, I didn't go see the movie with you guys at the bachelor party, but I hadn't seen the first one yet. And I think it was definitely better having taken the chance to see the first one over the summer and then getting to see the second one more recently.
Definitely.
Might still try and go see it in the theater just because it does seem like it has a lot of those, planes and stuff like that.
Great action.
And the music. Talk about the music. The music was amazing.
Soundtrack by Lauren Balfe and Walter Faltermeyer, who did.
It's almost like they the original. Pulled it out of the last movie and just dropped it into this one.
Hans Zimmer was in there too. You didn't mention Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer, a little, He contributed also in certain tracks. I couldn't tell which ones, but the
song in the opening sequence. Dark Star. I love that track. Dark Star.
Yeah. And a great additional song here by Lady Gaga, Hold My Hand. I have played that song way too many times. Laura can attribute to this. I have played it way too many times in the car, but I'm okay with that. I will readily admit I bought that song. I have it in my iTunes right now.
Played it at your wedding.
I love it. I put it in my wedding. I did. It was during cocktail hour between the wedding and the reception. It was there.
Yeah, I prefer the music video version because you get the sounds of the planes in there,
of course.
Which you don't get. Of course. But it's just.
But and they incorporated that song also into the score of the movie, which just works so well during the emotional flashback scenes. Yeah. But I'm kind of with Mark. My only con was just perhaps maybe this movie is a little too long at certain points, but overall, this was a fantastic movie. I may be reaching slightly, but I don't think I am. I consider this, again, this is just me seeing it. I've only seen it twice, but I am pretty confident in putting this as one of the greatest action movies ever made. What do you guys think? Am I reaching too far by saying that?
I don't think you're reaching far enough. All right. And the fact that you say it's too long, no, it's not. I disagree with your hypothesis there.
Daniel's a big fan, obviously.
I'm a big fan.
Obviously. How much does your aviation experience
fuel your
you fuel that?
It's not even in the picture, to be honest. And my instructor, I don't even think he's a fan of it. My flight instructor, he laughed at the idea of a 30-year captain in the military to Tom Cruise's character. Like that would never happen.
This is Tom Cruise. Okay, come on.
Oh, he wasn't a 30-year captain. I mean, because he was lieutenant in the last.
Right. And. Yeah, I made the mistake a few days ago of watching a reaction on YouTube to Top Gun by former fighter pilots. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that are just
There's always
way
inaccurate. There's always going to be something.
But you have to do it for the movie, and if you're not a fighter pilot, you're not going to notice. Okay?
Right. Yeah,
I'm a commercial pilot. I didn't even notice. So
the general viewer is not going to notice some of those inaccuracies.
It's kind of like the car stuff in the first couple Fast and Furious movies, where they're just like talking complete nonsense.
Yeah, see, we would never, Anthony and I at least, we would never know the difference on that.
I mean, in the later movies, you don't care because you already know that they're beyond nonsense. Right. They're just, they're superheroes. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't go to see those movies for their accuracy.
No. Yeah. I consider this one of the greatest action movies ever made. And my consensus, I wrote up a nice little consensus here. My consensus for this movie is a rare sequel that flies high above the original. Top Gun Maverick is an exhilarating thrill ride fueled by incredible stunts and practical effects, an emotionally driven story, and a dynamite performance from Tom Cruise. I mean,
that's a headline. That's a headline right there.
Right? I feel like I want a third one.
That's what people want to throw.
Okay, but not with Tom Cruise. I don't want him in it.
I want Tom Cruise in it because here's the thing. This is why I want him in it, because he never made the jump into true mentorship. He still flew the mission.
That's right.
And that's the thing is he didn't let go. Like he was
the instructor. He taught them how to do it, right? I mean,
he did. He taught them how to do it, but he still had to be on the mission too, because otherwise it wasn't going to get done. He had to do it himself. He didn't follow Iceman's last thing that he said to him was, "Let him go. Let it go. You need to let it go." So to me, I feel like that there's a decent amount of character growth there, but it's just like he has just a little bit further that he could go, and it'd be nice to see it come back and maybe see if he could be an admiral.
Yeah,
I don't see him being an admiral. No, the end of the movie, I assumed that he had let go and he was just living his life with Penny, working on the plane on the weekends with Rooster, and life is good. That's.
It could go either way.
But the fact that Tom Cruise, that's so symbolic that, he carried the movie. He had to come back and save cinema. I saw that a couple places. Tom Cruise saved cinema this summer.
Yeah.
Without Top Gun Maverick, would you have gone to see Where the Crawdads Sing, Anthony?
No.
I wouldn't. No, I did. By the way, I did see it.
This was the movie. This was the movie of the summer. I mean, obviously, we talked about Spider-Man: No Way Home being a huge success, but outside of that, there was nothing.
That was December last year.
That was all the way last year.
This is the movie of the year. This is the biggest movie of the year.
This will be the highest grossing of the year. Most
Avatar will not beat this movie.
Really?
At least.
Okay. Well, Avatar 2 will not be that movie this year.
Because
it will not be that movie this year because it comes out too late.
Yeah, it comes out this late.
Do you think it'll beat it overall?
I
think it's going to flop. I honestly think it's going to flop.
If you listen to our previous episode, I estimated between 1.5 and 1.7 billion for Avatar 2, which is what right around where this movie will fall into. It's a 1.4, I think, right now, like we said. So I think Avatar will edge this movie out. I truly do believe that.
I think it should. But I'm worried it won't. Like Mark, I'm worried.
Daniel will understand this reference because he listens to Undisputed with Skip Bayless. There is one man in cinema I do not bet against, and that is James Cameron. Been doubted twice, like we said with Avatar and Titanic.
How many Titanic, Avatar, Terminator?
There's two, I mean, Terminator. The first one was not supposed to make much, but I mean. It was mainly Avatar. And
they were getting in trouble on the first one because they were guerrilla filming that. They didn't have permits to do most of what they were doing. They would show up at a place and film as much as they could, and then until they got kicked out.
Yeah. So like I said, I think when you think of like Top Gun Maverick, I don't think people came to Top Gun Maverick for the story whole lot aspect. They came because once they saw the trailer, they knew this movie was going to be a movie you need to see in theaters. And I think Avatar 2 is going to be very much in that vein. They're going to say, hey, you want to see this visual spectacle on the big screen. So that's why I think it will do pretty well. Very well, actually.
I hope so. I hope you're right because I'm really psyched for it. I hope it does even better than the first one.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think it'll beat the first one. That's the thing is I honestly feel like it can't beat the first one.
The first one is a very tall. I don't think it'll beat the first one. That's a very tall order.
That's a very tall order.
That's almost
the one thing that may do well for this movie and may prove me completely wrong is the China release. Because China
was a huge market for the first one. Yeah.
And they didn't get any of Top Gun, did they?
No, they didn't get a dime from Maverick.
And that's interesting considering how much it made, right?
Right.
It is interesting considering how much it made and the concessions that they made to try and get it in China, and they still weren't able to get it there. Yeah. Which is why
if it's
upset
not
with this film
China,
in the first place.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm happy about that they weren't going to change it just for China.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There were some things in there that
I would not care, of all countries.
I like that it was just a nameless, faceless enemy, though. I'm glad
they had to say that. They had to say
weird timestamp on there, though, because I think they did that with the first one too, though. It wasn't really named.
Yeah,
was it?
The jets were named. They were fighting MiG fighters, which are Russian, but I don't know if they ever named the enemy. Which anyone could be flying anyone's planes. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because it makes it a little more timeless when they do that. When you have another, like Hunt for Red October and stuff like that, really only works during Cold War. You can't do something like that with now. Maybe actually now you might be able to, but there were many years in between there where the idea of us hunting and fighting against Russians was kind of a little out there again.
Yeah.
Or the fact that the enemy was always North Korea or China or whatnot. It's come on, let's be, or actually the past 20 years where it's always something in Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, something like that,
Which is what I've assumed this was, somewhere in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Yeah, except it was snowy, so.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, there was snow. There was snow in the mountains, yeah. So, they have snow over there, don't they? I don't know.
A little more rusky.
Somewhere in the Middle East surely has mountains.
Yeah, they still get snow somewhere around there at some point. But yeah, they left it very kind of vague. But
which was good, and I think it worked for the movie.
Yeah.
So
for my
grades.
Daniel, do you want to
give
a grade?
Do we get this? The way our grading system works right now, because it's still a work in progress, is we're doing A's through D. F is something absolutely terrible, obviously.
Right.
And then you can say a score as well.
Right. A percentage, 90, 95 or whatever, or 80, Then we also do a watch rating system where whether something's must see.
No. We're dropping the watch rating system.
We're going to drop it? Okay.
Yeah, we're dropping the watch rating system. The only thing we have now is must see. But, and I was going to talk to you about this, which we haven't quite. Must see needs to be something that we only get 3 of throughout the year.
Wow. 3 of. So
I want it to be kind of like Golden Buzzer from America's Got Talent, where it's not something you can just say, oh, this is a must see movie, So I want it to be something really special when you say, oh, no, this is a must see. So it would be the grade, and then must see would be something you tap on top of it.
Yeah. All right, Daniel.
This is an A+. I don't know what we're talking about here. It's an A+. It's a 90. I'll concede. I don't know if the perfect movie exists. Let's say it doesn't. Giving a perfect 100. One of my professors in college, he was from Denmark, and he did not believe in hundreds. You cannot get 100. Nothing can be done perfectly, right? Right. So I'll give it a 98 maybe %, but A+.
Right.
A+. How can you not? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Anthony?
I'm giving this a solid A. I'm giving it a 95%, and I am putting this in the must see category. I know
for sure.
I'm putting this a must see. I really am. I think
it is a must see.
You got to check it out. This is a great, American patriotic movie. Yes, it's a feel good movie, but man, it's just a great movie. It just it really gets you amped up. It leaves you jumping at the end of the movie. You're having a bad day. You watch this movie, it'll turn your day around. You gotta see it.
True.
So
yeah, I mean, when this movie was over, I had a big smile on my face. I mean, I was really happy with this movie. I was even more happy texting you saying, "Meh."
Of course,
just because I love messing with you. But so I think I'll give this. I'll give it an A. as well. Probably more of a 94, 93, closer down towards the A- area, just because of it is a little bit campy at points. It does have those the things that I did talk about where they don't really feel like they don't commit to an ending and things like that.
Yeah.
And also they didn't have Charlie in the movie. So
have you seen Charlie?
No. Probably
okay. We're done. Okay. Right. There's a reason what's her name was in here instead of Charlie. I'm just saying.
Wow, Daniel.
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly.
Correct.
She has
she's a good
she's aged like
good
fine
replacement.
Wine. Okay.
She looks exactly
I don't
like
know if there's even
Rocketeer back.
Do they touch on the age difference there? I assume there is a pretty big
she's one of those people who has not aged.
She does not age at all. Yeah. Well, yeah, there's Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah. So let's see what else. I mean, I need to find a way to segue. I want to find other little like mini discussions that we can have to segue into the next.
Well, what was your favorite scene from the movie from Top Gun?
I forgot to ask you. Yeah, I was going to ask Dana what is if you had to pick a favorite scene from the movie itself.
Well, I don't know if I can. I have so many, but what are some of your favorite or your top at the top of the list?
Hands down, my favorite scene was when Jon Hamm took over teaching the class. And, Maverick comes back and runs the course and proves that it can be done within the time limit that he's been pushing on them. Because I felt right there that he proved to them that it could be done.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they needed to necessarily put him on the mission, but he showed them that it could be done and they could have gone with that from there. But, yeah, so I love that scene also because I love, I've got that rebel side of me, thumb in the face of authority a little bit things going on. So I can see why he did that. But that to me was like the best scene.
Yeah. I think for me, it's at the end where he, Cruise goes on the mission himself, and you genuinely don't know what's going to happen to him. You think because like we were saying, it foreshadows that he's not gonna make it out.
I thought for sure he was gonna die.
You're on the edge of your seat because because you've been briefed on the mission, how dangerous this mission is, the high stakes, and you're just watching it and you genuinely do not know what's gonna happen. I think that's what the best moments in movies are, when you do not know what is going to happen, and it's just you're on the edge of your seat, suspense the whole flight here.
You know who I was most nervous for in that scene though?
Who's that?
Payback and Fanboy. That's who I was most nervous for, because I honestly was like, these guys have been in the movie, they've been there, but they haven't really done much, and now they're suddenly throwing them on the mission. Holy crap, they're going to kill them off, they're going to kill off the minorities, they're going to do it, and I can't believe they're about to do that. But it would be such an 80s movie thing to do.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Thankfully they kept them in there. One more movie at least.
Close call. Yeah.
Oh man. So, I mean, this week we are talking about episode 6 of Rings of Power.
That's right.
Let's just dive into it.
I have a brief synopsis if you guys are ready.
Oh, go ready? For it. Thank
Hit
you.
Me.
All right. Episode 5 it's titled, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Udun. But all right. Arondir leads the orcs into a trap, collapsing the abandoned watchtower on them. In an ensuing fight, the townspeople seemingly defeat the orcs, only to realize most of them were their own people in disguise as orcs. The rest of the orcs then attack, and Bronwyn is severely injured. But in order to save her life, Theo gives up the location of the broken sword to Adar. And Galadriel and the Numenorean army, they then arrive and defeat the remaining orc army, and Adar is captured and the sword apparently recovered. However, Theo discovers the broken sword was a decoy, and Waldrig takes the real sword to the watchtower and implants it there, causing a nearby dam to burst, which channels water through the orc tunnels to a volcano, which is Orodurin, which causes it to erupt, enveloping the town in fire and smoke as we cut to black.
Well, I mean, or the mountain is also known as what
Mount
we know it
Doom.
is.
Oh, Mount Doom,
right?
Of course. Yes, I thought that was, yeah.
I made that connection like 3 seconds after it blew up, and I thought that was just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
mine was. I didn't read the Silmarillion. I haven't even read Lord of the Rings. Okay, I watched the extended editions. I was mind blown. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, I'll admit I didn't make that connection either at first, and I'm like, oh man, we just saw the creation of Mount Doom, didn't we?
I knew they were in the Southlands, so we're essentially watching them terraform Mordor into what we know it, what we as today know it, right? So that was pretty cool. This was in my favorite episode thus far in the series.
Definitely.
Action packed. You had the development of several plot points come to fruition. Things that were building up and leading to this moment. It was a tremendous episode, in my opinion, a major leap forward, and I can't wait for episodes 7 and 8 to close the first season.
Yeah, I mean, just wow. This show has been, the main criticism for this show has been how slow it's been.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy slow things. I like a slow burn, which is why Breaking Bad and The Batman are so good to me. But that's been a large criticism for this show from a lot of people, is that it's slow, and I get it. But today, I think we got such a huge payoff in episode 6 that it was kind of worth it. Like, all of our characters are coming together now. Everything that's been building towards, you realize it's actually more connected than we realized, or maybe you did realize it was all connected. It was just boom.
Yeah.
The Southlanders have their showdown with Adar. Dude, Arondir here was such a man. Like, that guy, that he was going to let them kill Bronwyn. He was willing to make that sacrifice because he understood. And that, to me, was so big, because you don't get that in a lot of movies these days. You don't have men who are willing to make those types of sacrifices because they realize that what's going on here is way bigger than
just one person.
The life of the person who they love, even, and I mean, I understand Theo, 14-year-old kid, it's his mother, makes a little bit more sense why he might, give in and stuff like that. And clearly, obviously, the creation of Mount Doom is partially his fault, because he gave it up. I actually went back and did rewatch some specific scenes because I was like, how did they switch that around? Did that actually happen? And then I went and rewatched it. And as soon as you hear the Numenorians coming, Adar walks out. He has it in his hand and he goes, "Hey, I got a mission for you," to the guy who's going to go do it. He says it right there.
Yeah.
And then you see all this action and all that goes on for like several minutes. And then he's climbing it onto his horse. And, Arondir tells Galadriel, he's like, "Hey, that thing he has, he can't get away with it. It needs to be recovered." So there was time for him to do exactly what happened, and it worked.
Yeah.
And that explosion, the way Galadriel just stands there and lets it engulf her, it's just like
perfect.
I mean, I was sitting there being like, what just happened? What's going to happen for the last 2 episodes?
Yeah.
What are they going to do? They're wrapping this up so early. This is too neat. And then, the guy got away. They're opening the door, or they're using the key. I thought, now I just want to see more. And I'm just enjoying this show. It's so good. I hate that the only thing people are talking about is the nonsense that they're putting up in publicity stunts, rather than talking about the actual show. Like, no one's talking about the show. They're talking about stuff outside the show, instead of the show. So I'm so excited. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, I agree. I want to see Sauron before the end of the season for sure. I don't. I've been waiting. I've been here. I'm waiting.
That's what I'm most interested in.
He says he killed him. That's the other thing. Adar says he's killed him.
He's not dead. Not yet.
We know he's not dead. We know he's not dead. So the question is, where is he? Do you think
I need to see him? I need him to be a very person, like an evil person that the antagonist that we can actually talk to, and
And remember,
no. He's supposed to be a friend. He's supposed to be a friend at this point.
A friend.
He's supposed to, yes, because he's supposed to help them make the rings of power.
He hasn't been portrayed.
He's gonna be. That's why he's gonna be a good guy.
That's why some expect.
That's why some people.
He's the stranger.
The stranger.
Yeah, that's what some
stranger.
Expect. The guy
who's the stranger?
Like the wizard powers. The guy.
I thought that was Gandalf.
That's what some people think, but some people think he's actually Sauron. So
no, that would be a twist. That would be a twist.
Remember, Sauron can shapeshift into anybody. In the Silmarillion, he shapeshifts into several different creatures and humans. Like he can literally be anybody. I mean, that's
interesting. Yeah, now I think that has some merit. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm just interested in seeing the rise of Sauron because that's something that we only got in a prologue in the first 3 minutes of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. We didn't see this Age of Middle Earth, and so seeing this series take its time developing and building to that moment is just to me very exciting. Just to see his rise, his reign of terror. I'm pumped. I'm excited.
Although I could do without the dogs, the dire wolf type dogs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't mention that in the last episode.
Something's not right. Right.
I don't think they visually speaking, they do not look good. There's some CGI in the series that does look suspect, and that's just definitely
a touch. Suspect.
I guess that would be. I just thought they were normal wolves. I didn't realize they were supposed to be some type of dire wolf or anything.
Well, I don't know that they are, but it's just I assume they were the same breed-ish type that Saruman sends after,
like the wargs,
people fleeing to Helm's Deep, right? The wargs.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're different. They're definitely different. I don't know if they're supposed to look different or. Either way, their eyes just look weird.
Yeah, their eyes
look like puppy dogs.
That's exactly what I said. Their eyes look very
my German Shepherd has more menacing eyes than those things.
Their eyes
you gotta be kidding me.
They have very friendly eyes for some reason. I don't know why they chose that creative decision there, but it does not work. Does not work. I
mean, it's also supposed to be one of those things that, like, possibly Harfoots would be afraid of and hobbits would be afraid of that maybe men wouldn't be afraid of because, we're twice the size of a Harfoot.
Yeah. The other thing about this episode that, Laura and I discovered as we were watching this, and Laura kept saying, this is not Lord of the Rings, was the fact that there is, obviously with this being an action-packed episode, this is the most violent of the episodes thus far, but there are certain shots in here where they get close-ups on blood seeping wounds. I think one scene was like with Bronwyn's wound, where it feels very unnecessary. The fact that they're like doing all these close-ups on just blood gushing out of wounds, and I'm just like, this doesn't fit to me because they don't show that much blood in the actual action sequences, but then they show copious amounts of blood in certain close-ups. Did you guys pick up on that, or did
I didn't? No, I didn't really have a problem.
I didn't feel like I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't feel like it was non-Lord of the Rings because if you watch, those movies were PG-13.
Yeah.
And I have watched them with my 8-year-old.
Yeah.
But we were very careful as we watched them as well because they were fairly violent, they're cutting heads off of orcs and stuff quite routinely. There's blood splatters in that part. The thing is, most of the time it's orc blood.
Right. So it's less,
I wouldn't say it's too much blood in Rings of Power. It's just not enough blood in Lord of the Rings, but that's just what they had to do back then.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's what they had to do back then. I think it's the fact that you didn't have as many bloody injuries,
probably the most,
or maybe they are a little more gratuitous with the blood now.
I mean, there were plenty of opportunities. Right?
Yeah, honestly,
there were plenty of opportunities. But
one of the most, like when Yeah.
Probably one of the most gruesome deaths was when Aragorn decapitates the Uruk-hai leader. I forget his name.
Well, he chops off its arms and its head, and you hardly see any blood, right?
And you don't see hardly any blood.
I mean, you do. No, you get blood.
You get some,
a little bit.
Not much.
But whenever he's like dragging his knife inside his stomach, you don't actually see that. It's off screen. You know, it's just below the frame. You know. Whereas some scenes in this, you actually see it. I think that's just the difference that she made. She's like, this feels a little too violent, but it's still not darker. It's still not Game of Thrones level violence. Let's be honest here. But it was just I did notice that though. But
nothing is Game of Thrones level violent.
No,
that show is just
you can't talk
unnecessary.
You can't talk. And like Mark and I mentioned in our previous episode, I believe that is one thing I was happy about. This is not a series that sets out to be as violent as Game of Thrones, because that was a concern going into this. People didn't know.
They even released a statement about it too recently, where they were like, "We aren't Game of Thrones. Our fans don't want to see that level of violence.
We just want you to stick to the books. That's all we want."
Yeah,
pretty much.
They could have gone down that path, and I'm glad they did not.
There was talks that they were going to, like, there was talks about like naked gay sex between elves and stuff like that, and people were just like, "What? No one's going to want to see that. No one's going to watch it. You're going to lose the entire main fan base if you do that." You know, honestly, they probably could build to something in the show eventually, you know, over 5 seasons, but that's something that like you don't want to start off with, because it would piss off the fan base right away. And they've already done a pretty good job of that. Like I said, I have the blessing of ignorance. I don't know the source material. They don't have the rights to the source material, so they're kind of flapping around in the wind here, making it up as they go.
Well, they have they don't have the rights, from what I read, they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion, but they have obviously like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the appendices,
and the Hobbit.
The Hobbit,
and the appendices, but they don't have. There's really the only real rights to anything would be in the Silmarillion and their appendices. And that's what kind of bridges the gap between Lord of the Rings and that. So since they can't touch that, they kind of are making stuff up as they go, which is why things slightly feel a little off.
Some timelines.
I still think it's high quality. I don't know if it's the screen I'm watching it on. Some people are saying that the armor and stuff looks awful, and I'm just like, what are you watching? Are you watching the same show?
It's great.
I don't see that. I don't.
And it even looks like they're putting people in costumes again. It's not the Hobbit all over again. You know?
I mean, because that's the thing is, I'm looking at it as being. I'm also very cognizant of the fact that it's thousands of years before. Lord of the Rings. So I'm looking at it more as like it's an earlier stage of armor and their ability. I mean, the elf armor is still crazy better than the human armor. You know, the humans and Numenorians don't seem to have plate armor. They have some type of mail, and they have intricate design on it. And the lighting they use on it leaves it so that there's no real shadows that show up on the Numenorian armor. If you'll notice the way they light it, but that's because they're trying to show the Numenorians as being more than the humans of Middle Earth, because they are, you know, Aragorn is Numenorian, and he's going to live to be 200 something years old, because he's not of the blood of the men of Middle Earth. He's not like Boromir. He's someone who's descended from Numenor. So there is a difference between these people. As much as they are men, they're also not. So I think it works for what they're trying to show and do. But we'll see where it goes from here. I'm so excited for watching the show tomorrow night.
Exactly. It comes
seeing it right away instead of seeing it.
Next episode comes out. Next episode it come out on midnight on Friday. So like in an hour it comes. You know,
maybe I'll stay up and watch it.
It comes out in an hour. So.
Oh man, I can't do that.
I can't. No, these episodes are too long. I'm sorry. If they were like 40-minute episodes, maybe, but they're like an hour 10 minutes. I can't. No.
I might do it.
Yeah,
I might do it.
Just don't text us any spoilers.
Yeah, right? No spoilers, please. Yeah.
Biggest stuff already happened, it seems.
Still two more episodes. I'm excited to see. Yeah,
definitely.
Then we're gonna have to pick another show to talk about.
Exactly. Like, I don't know what we're gonna figure out what we want to do next as far as breakdown episode by episode with show. But this is a fun show. Fun show to review.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not as much of a turnoff as I was expecting it to be. I was afraid it was going to be absolutely just god awful. I mean, maybe the dialogue's a little. I don't even know if it's off. It's fantasy. It's high fantasy. They're trying to. They're not trying to be. They're not trying to be Game of Thrones, where everyone's like, "Oh yeah, they're just modern people put back in a different time," and so they're saying "f you" every other word. Like, it just doesn't work that way. They're from a different time. You have these higher beings that are trying to show people the way they live. And the elves, but they also have their own faults, so that's interesting.
Yeah,
and yeah,
cool.
So those are our episodes. That's what we got. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe this show. Check out our website at www.buddymoviespodcast.com. We're still working on getting more stuff up there. We also have the Patreon, which is patreon.com/buddymovies.
That's right.
And you can catch us on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah. Catch us on there. And thank you, Daniel, for being our guest on this show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's great.
Hey, if you know anyone who might want to be a guest on the show, no, we don't pay our guests anything because we don't pay ourselves anything.
Right.
But if you know somebody who wants to be a guest on the show, or if you want to be a guest on the show, let us know and we can get you on.
Yeah.
Wasn't there didn't Julie's husband want to be
Julie's
on?
husband Levi wants to be on at some point. He was going to be on for The Odd Couple way back when we were reviewing that, because it's one of his favorite movies, but he ended up being sick that day, so we couldn't get him on. But I'm sure it's at some point he would love to be on. So we'll, definitely reach out to him. And
we should definitely get Aaron. Oh gosh,
Whitman.
I'm skipping on. Whitman.
Yeah. Oh, he was. He would talk, if you bring up the word baseball at all, he would definitely, we would talk about baseball for a good hour, for sure.
Oh, maybe we need to do a sports movie.
Moneyball.
Just so everyone knows, the Cardinals play Friday night in St. Louis. Wild card series. Tune into that. It will be exciting.
Cardinals Phillies playoff best of 3 series. So yes.
But yes, you are right. Moneyball is such a good. You don't even have to be a baseball fan to watch it. So Mark, you have a chance. I
enjoyed Moneyball. I thought Moneyball was
it's a great movie.
Fun movie.
That's kind of like how Anthony's wife Laura was with Top Gun. She doesn't like war movies. It's not a war movie. It's about fighter jets and fighter pilots, but it's not a war movie. Yeah, something for everyone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on, Daniel, and thank you for joining us on this show. And as always, remember to stay cool.
Stay cool.